Hello, good afternoon, everyone. I hope you all had a good week and I hope you're all ready to join me one more time or one last time onto this project. We have been going live for 4 consecutive Wednesdays. This is the last one, and we have been painting together some insects and bugs. And today we are just going to review what we've learned. Yeah. So if you were doing this with your children, or if you're planning to do this as a project, do start from week one, and hopefully it will all make sense. Yeah. Build your own insect book. I've just built mine from color paper, so each sheet has got a different color, and I've got the models ready to go on here with lots of facts that we've learned. So do review them and do write them down. Find a creative way to include fun facts, like maybe you can draw and cut out little flowers and add little facts about each insect, like what's the favorite food, what does it, how long does it live, where does it live, what's the life cycle. Maybe you can build up your own maps or your own life cycle circuits around your bags, and yeah, and make sure when you explain that to children, make sure you review everything you learn, and they kind of find a nice way of including that into their book, and I'm sure they'll be very proud of their little project. Now, before I begin, I have to say happy birthday to Katie Rogers, who's my colleague and friend, and hello to all my colleagues. Because it's the last session, I feel like thank you all for kind of paying attention. Thank you all for joining me into those sessions. Thank you for your response. I hope you have found those sessions inspiring. I hope I'll get more feedback from you, what sort of things you'd like us to include, what worked, what didn't work, what did you produce, how did those sessions inspire you. And once again, many thanks to all the ARCOR team who have put those videos together and who are entertaining and making sure we are looked after, making sure we are also educated, making sure we're also entertained every day with another fascinating artist. It's been great kind of getting to know my colleagues, because I don't attend my colleagues' session, they don't attend mine. So it's kind of a fun way to get to know everybody, as well as kind of learning what they are teaching. So just as a quick review, I brought my friends here, my insects. I'm beginning to love them more and more. The more I know about them, the more I go, wow, I never knew that. And how come we don't, Anyway, it's a different way of learning when you're an adult. And if you learn everything as if you had to teach it to somebody, it does stick to with you. So in week one, we have been introducing you our fascinating number one ladybird, red, bright colored. Now I have got a few facts about those, but do go back to week one of the video. So ladybirds live up to 3 years. Okay, they've got the same cycle as sort of butterflies. They start with eggs. The females are laying eggs, and then they develop from eggs into larvae, also called, in some cases, caterpillars. So from egg, larva, pupa, and then it develops into the beautiful ladybird. So those live up to 3 years. Okay, very interesting. Now the bumblebees I explained to you before. You get to see the first bumblebee, you get to see the bee queen, the bumblebee queen, because she's the only one who goes into hibernation and starts the whole colony again. So each spring when you see them, they have had a really difficult times that I have explained you. When you see the first bumblebees, if you happen to have some honey water or sugary water, if you see they're dehydrated, if you see they're losing their equilibrium, or if you see them exhausted, do give them some honey water to help the whole colony, because like I said before, bumblebees as well as bees, they help pollinate our crops. So if they go extinct, we go extinct. So a lot of respect for the bumblebees as well as everything else here. Um, so that was week two. Week three, we looked at butterflies. I was about to paint with you a monarch butterfly, but that's specific to South America. So I thought, why don't we go local? And I explained to you about my little visitor, which I've had last week. I had a peacock butterfly, and we painted that together. So go back to the videos and remember about what we've learned. Then I forgot to mention bumblebees live up to the queen lives up to a year, but most of the bees live only about 2 to 6 weeks. So where it comes to the butterflies, they live up to 11 months. They hatch from eggs into caterpillars and then develop into full adult butterflies. Now, last one on our list, the one we're gonna paint today, is the dragonfly, and dragonflies are one of the nature's masterpieces. You can see how shimmery that is. Okay, I've added a lot of glitter. Dragonflies are ancient insects, and they have been with us. They have been on this planet longer than the dinosaurs. And so, and their form, their layout, their appearance hasn't changed much. What has changed more is the size, because this planet used to have a lot more oxygens, and neither of those insects have got lungs. So they have sort of tubes, or let's say they breathe through their skin. And so the less oxygen on the planet, the smaller the size of the insect. So before, dragonflies used to be up to 40 centimeters. Think about that. No, maybe more, about this bit this big. Now they're only tiny, and there are about 5,000 species of different dragonflies. Now going back to our week 4, so I'm just gonna get rid of those for now. Monarch butterfly. Obviously, you are encouraged to develop your own insect book. Okay, so if you want to include anything else which I haven't included, then feel free to do so. And let's look more closely at our model today, our dragonfly. Okay, dragonflies are, they've got their eyes, really big eyes. So those two here are the eyes. So compared to the size of the head, they are huge. And there is a resemblance between the dragonflies and I think it's called the hammerhead shark. You know, the one that's got like a long head with eyes at the end of the head. And their vision is very complex. So their eyes are made out of lots of tiny eyes, you know, tiny lenses, and they can see 360. So they can see all around them, which does help. They have got beautiful colors. However, they do not see colors, but they do see prey and enemies very well because of their vision. Okay, complex vision. Just like every other insect that we talked about, dragonfly have got the abdomen, the thorax. So abdomen really long, and the thorax here, and then they've got the four wings, the four wings, the front and the back, or the what they call the forewings and the hind wings. They've got the 6 legs, so 2 attached to the abdomen. Oh no, in fact, sorry. In this case, they're all attached to the not the abdomen. They're all attached to the body, to the thorax. Okay, we've seen before that some of the legs were attached to the abdomen and some were attached to the upper body. So, going back to our plan, we are going to draw a dragonfly. Now, this tiny one was designed for my insect book. I have prepared here a little sketch of a bigger one. So I'm drawing onto A3 just because I want everybody to see me. So if you are drawing alongside with me, it's really fun, but also because they're complex wings, we are going to focus quite a little bit on them, but I will hopefully show you a nice way of doing so without kind of getting bored, because I could spend the rest of the tutorial just working on the wings, but I want to give you an overview. So just as always, we are going to start our drawing with that middle line. Okay, so we're gonna go bold. Can you see? And then we are going to add the head. The head is almost like a triangle or a semicircle. So we'll make it like a semicircle first. Yeah. And then we are going to divide it into, let me just look at my reference. We are going to divide the head into mainly eyes. Like I said, they do take a lot of space. So eyes there, so 2 circles, and this is the head. So this is the rest of the head. Okie doke. Or the rest of the face. So we got the face here with some features, and then we've got the eyes. Okay, the eyes, if you remember, they're made out of millions of, not millions, but hundreds of tiny lenses, and they kind of see the world a bit like a mosaic. Okay, can you see that? All right. So after that, we are going to focus on the second part. So we're going to focus on the thorax, and the thorax can be drawn simply like a peanut or like an oval with a little bit of a rounded edge towards the bottom. So here, up and down, up and down. So the middle of the body goes up a bit like a lung shape, and then down. Okay, after that we are, if you are measuring your drawing, you can you could say the size of the head is 1-2 times the size of the thorax, or we can include the size of the head twice inside the size of the thorax, and then the size of the thorax we can include a 1, 2, and almost 3 size inside the length of the abdomen. So they've got those really long abdomens, which we can draw like sticks almost. They're almost like a stick, long stick, but also ovally in overall look. Okay, very good. So after that, the main feature, like I said, is the wings. So the wings start from the abdomen here. Okay, and finish on the abdomen there. Okay, so 1, 2, 1, 2, and they attach very firmly onto the body. So wing shape, a bit like the ones we drew onto the bumblebees, long and round. So the front or the forewing. Okie doke, and then we're gonna repeat same onto the other side. Okie doke, and then we're gonna look back, we're gonna come back later on and add more veins, yeah, just like we did on the bumblebee. So hind wing number 1. Okay, like a okay, it's more or less like an oval, and then you can refine it. And last wing, and out and round and back, and it attaches to the upper part of the abdomen. Very good. Yeah, very good. Okay, so that looks more or less like a dragonfly. Now, if I've started doing those eyes, I might as well do a few more just for fun, because that will add into my texture, will make my colors a little bit more interesting, or my overall shape a bit more interesting. So I'm just gonna put a few more lenses onto the eyes. You can look up macro images for more details. And after we've done that, we are going to focus on the last elements, the legs. So 6 legs, just like every other insect. They've got the tibia, the femur, the what's it called, the claw, but the tarsi. So you know from the previous lessons, every insect I think that we drew had the same components. The ladybirds have got the tarsi claw as well. So we've got 2 at the top. Okay, they don't have antennas, but they have got those 6 legs. So 2 at the top, 2 lower down. It really depends on you where you put them, because they could move, they could be up or down or resting on a leaf. So that's that. And remember, they've got those little claws to grab onto things. So 1, and then let me look through. So the wings, unlike the butterfly's wings, which are made out of tiny scales, and they don't lose color when the insects have passed away. The dragonflies have got like a very complex network of veins onto their wings, and they are most often or almost always transparent or translucent, so they don't have color, but they have a sort of a, I think it's called a follicle, or a bit of a cover, very fine cover onto the wings to make them fly better and faster. And they can fly and they can change direction a bit like a helicopter. So they can stay up in the air, they can go down, up, front, back, and they've got a strange way of bouncing as well when they lay the eggs. Most fascinating fact about the dragonflies is that most of their lives unspent as dragonflies, most of their life is spent underwater as nymphs, so the equivalent of, let's say, caterpillars or larvae. And they molt, so they change their appearance, they change their body ever so often, and that's how they grow. They don't physically expand, they kind of keep the same body until they can't really expand any further, and then they split this body open and they emerge out of it, and their body is soft for a few good hours. And then they develop a sort of shell like skin, which is their protection. So they're very vulnerable once they molt, because their exoskeleton is very soft, and they can obviously be easily chewed. Nom 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 nom. So here I've started already to add some of the main veins. A lot of them I'm going to add straight with paint. So it's a bit like a network of roads. We put the main roads, and then the little side streets or the passageway we are going to paint directly. So a bit like a spider's web. Yeah, we're gonna interconnect them, and we will add some extras, okay? Last one here, just adding the main veins, okay, going from the abdomen towards the edge of the body. Some of them have got like strange directions, they go up and down rather than sideways, but we are just going to add the main ones. Right, so this is what I've got so far. There are lots of details on the abdomens, and that's why dragonflies are awesome for abstractization or for inspiration. So I'm going to add those two main circles of the body of the abdomen, and then I'm going to add some little circles. So one circle there, one there, two to the side. That's why they're kind of fun to work as illustrations, because you can create a sort of pattern that you repeat, and that's very, very abstract. Now the abdomen has got lots of sections, and we're not going to try and replicate every single one of them, but we could find a sort of a pattern that we're going to go with. So they almost look like vertebrae, okay, but they don't have vertebrae because they have got an exoskeleton. So their inside is soft, but it's almost like a pattern. So this one looks like a little guy with a head. Can you see that? A head, legs, and arms. So look, head here, legs, and arms. And then we are going to add the same thing. So a bit like a oval, and then one oval, two circles, let's say. One oval, that would be easier, wouldn't it? Two circles. One oval, two circles, one oval. Of course, they are a lot more complex than that, but you know, one oval, two circles. We have to, one oval, two circle, we have to simplify it as much as the time allows. I did try to replicate a more accurate one last night, and it did take me longer. So if you want to have a look at my example here, I'll hold a look at the details of the abdomen. Okay, you could see almost like a spine. Yeah, and you could see the circles and then the continuous line running through the middle. I mainly made those up, but this is the reference that I've used. It's a male dragonfly, and you could see the details on the abdomen there. Okay, and that's what we're heading for. So most of the body I painted like a dark blue, but I've also I left sorry, most of the body is like dark, very dark blue, very dark, not blue, sorry, very dark gray, but I left some patches of blue. That's what I meant. So starting to paint, we have got a wonderful drawing now, and we are going to start with the main colors, and I'm going to leave just a few dots onto the abdomen where I'm going to put a very bright blue. So if I was going to paint that in watercolor and I start with dark gray, it's never going to be super bright when I want to put some a light blue. So I'm going to leave some of the gaps, okay? Now I'm going to leave a highlight onto the eyes as well. So let's start with the face. The face has got like a yellowy color. However, lots of dragonflies have got different colors. So if it's not a yellow color, don't worry, there surely is a dragonfly that looks like the colors you are using. So face slightly yellow. Then we're going into blues and grays. So those are the main colors we're gonna use, blues and grays. The rest, only the face was or had a little bit of yellow. So let's begin. Light blue. I'm going to put some light blue with the or I'm going to mix a little bit of light blue with white, okay, and I'm going to leave a highlight. So leave a highlight onto the eyes, and I'm going to go with that over my eyes and leaving that tiny highlight. Okie doke, so light blue. You see why I've chosen to work on bigger paper, just making sure I don't move too much, making sure you can see me enough and you could see my drawing more than me. Okay, because that's the most important thing to focus on. Beautiful. So you can see the highlight and the eyes. Now to make them look even more googly, I'm going to add another layer of blue on the outside, just to make them look more, even more three-dimensional. There and there, and last bit here. If I want to get rid of some of the pencil marks, I'm going to add a tiny bit of black at the end. So just to mark this area in between the eyes here. Very good. And then extend it slightly towards the abdomen. And why not paint some of the legs already, because we've got black. So I've got my brush loaded with black paint, and that is for some of the features onto the face. Now I've got the eyes, they are looking really good, but to make them even more three-dimensional, I'm just going to use my very fine brush. In fact, I'm probably only going to use the fine brush today, unless you want to add a background, in which case you can do with a bigger brush. But if we're going to cut it out for our insect book, which and stick to the plan, then we are going to leave it without a background. So look at those tiny lenses and look how wonderful they look as extra details onto the eyes. Okay, moving on. Just so we don't forget, we're gonna add the legs, all 6 of them. And like I said before, and like my colleague Zoe, who I miss a lot, always says, we never use black, not black on its own. We are going to use black and blue. We do love our blacky blues or purpley blacks, or you can make a very dark color with using brown and blue if you don't have black, and sometimes it's recommended not to use it because nothing in nature is pure white, nothing in nature is pure black, unless you're looking at a teeth commercial where they're saying want to have perfect teeth, then obviously that's gonna be immaculate white. But in nature, things aren't quite as perfect. So I'm using a mix of black and blue to paint all these 6 legs. So I've done the first ones, and you want to make sure you don't do your lines continuously. It's a bit like adding texture earlier on, a bit of adding the claws. If you remember from doing all the other insects, the bodies aren't smooth, the body of insects aren't smooth. If you remember the bumblebee had a fine layer of hair because that layer it's capturing as much pollen as it possibly can. And then when they reach their nest or their burrows, they are shaking that off. So their bodies are meant or designed to capture as much, or to that their bodies have been adapted over time because they're so old, those creatures, they've been adapted to kind of be more efficient. It's a bit like us. Maybe in future we will develop a different sort of layout, or our heads will grow slightly bigger, or maybe our backs will grow slightly stronger, which would be great. That's how in animal world, that's how things happen. If they need something to survive better, the nature gently kind of hints towards that, hints towards adaptation and towards progress and towards making things easier for the survival of the species. So very important for every species is to sort of go through the life cycle, make sure it leaves something behind, it leaves the next generation, it prepares us, it prepares its next generation. And I told you that before, it is very important to respect every creature because they offer a diversity and a beauty that once extinct we can't replicate. Okay, we haven't got to that point where we can replicate nature, but we are doing our best. Like in the army, they are studying a lot the bodies of insects because they think soldier could do with having an exoskeleton, something they can put onto themselves and something that can enhance them, can enhance their capacity or capabilities of carrying heavier loads. Now, all 6 legs painted, I'm going to go straight into the wings. Okay, so outlining with a blacky blue, so blue and black or blue and purple. Outlining the wings. And I'm sure I'm gonna run out of time, but I'm going to do as much as I possibly can to give you as much direction, as much guidance, so you can finish this at home. So next bit of the wing, yeah. When you're painting fine lines, it can be a challenge. So try and practice in your sketchbooks first if you need to. And try and have some faith and patience. When you do so, it will take a while, but you can do it. So I'm outlining all my wings now because I find it convenient. Once I have a color loaded onto my brush, I find it convenient to just carry on with that. And also I'll show you a way of simplifying the details, the sections of the abdomen, as well as the web, the complex web onto the dragonfly's wings. Okay, so now it's easier to see. Because the abdomen has got a lot of gray or dark colors, but also some really bright blue. I'm going to start with a very bright blues first. So I'm mixing once again white, a lot of white, because white, we need a lot of watercolor white with blue, light blue. I kind of don't like the color of the blue that I've got, so that's why I'm kind of mixing it with white. However, with watercolor, you should be able to just use light blue by just mixing water with your blue, not any extra white with it, but I'm just not entirely happy with it. That's why I'm including slightly hint of white to make my color stronger as well, because I've got super strong outlines which I need to cover. So painting the whole of the abdomen blue to begin with, because it's a warm day as well, it will dry fairly quickly. I'm gonna do the same onto the upper body, although this one's again mainly dark gray. However, differently, the dragonflies have got different colors. Now look how beautiful this this color blue goes over my colors of the wings, making them look like they are overlapping the body. Okay, beautiful. So I've got my dragonfly almost painted. The complicated bits are ready. Now I'm going to start while this and that thorax and abdomens are drying. I'm going to move on to the details of the wings, and I'm going to do one almost entirely, just so you know what to do with the rest, because we just have to do the same thing for all the other ones. Okay. Now remember, while we're doing this, so while we're doing something kind of repetitive, we have to remember the good things or the facts about the dragonfly. So dragonflies develop from egg. The females lay their eggs around water or on the surface of the water into a sort of, they have a funny flight, a different way of flying where they're laying eggs. They're almost like bang and bang and bang, and you could see them bouncing over the surface of the water. So normally they're flying quite steadily, and sometimes when they're laying eggs, they are kind of tilting and dropping suddenly, and that's one egg and another egg and another egg. And that's how they lay their eggs. Sometimes the males are watching over just to make sure they are not being attacked or chased while in the process of laying eggs, because that is very important for the procreation, for the continuation of the species. So can you see what I'm doing now is just with the tip of my brush joining some of the areas, some of the two main sort of veins, and trying to kind of do a bricklay effect, so not joining them from one end to the other, but kind of variating the starting and the end point. Okay, and then going back to my main vein, so I'm going to paint the main veins here, and then a bit like a honeycomb. Yeah, if you looked at honeycombs before, they're a bit like hexagons or even squares with round corners. Okay, and that's the sort of thing we're going to do next. Yeah, so we've got the main veins. Right, we've got the main veins, we can see the legs through, and now we are going to use a fine brush. Hi Ray, artist at work, that's right. Well, this is not the sort of thing that I usually do, but I love teaching and I love painting and I love any form of art, and so this is one part of it, being an artist. Yeah, and researching, obviously it's a nice thing of always learning new things. So like I said, I'm going to join this area here with lots of hexagons, so I'm going to do that. Look, I'm just going to do that with my brush without a actual sketch for it. So you can do, for example, divide the main two branches into one, or you add a link in between them, and then you divide that further and further and further in a sort of random pattern. Hexagon, squares, triangles, mainly hexagons and squares with soft edges. Okay, and the more you do, the easier it becomes. It's like the honeycomb I was telling you. And one more, and one more, and one more, and more, and then joining the main veins. Okay, this is very important for the dragonflies because they are very fast creatures. They fly very fast. Okay, so you could see my web emerging. So it's really fun to do. You have to observe nature. So one thing that nature teaches us, or amongst many other, first, we can't replicate nature. Second, we could observe it because there are always lessons to be learned, and nature can be really cruel. So if you're thinking you're having a hard time, now think about those nymphs that don't make it to adulthood. You know, they're just there and they just pray, and that's okay because you know, that's the life cycle. So it just makes you feel like maybe we're not at the top of the chain, maybe we're just part of it. And you know, one thing we have to learn is that we need to respect not just each other as species, but we need to respect every species because they are just, you know, equally unique. And we want to keep the diversity. An environment with good diversity is a healthy environment. And once one species disappears, another one kind of becomes invasive. Right. So you can see what I'm doing. Yeah, very, very satisfying connecting the web, making the web. And you already know how to do that. Yeah, this sort of honeycomb structure. Um, so I'm not gonna do the whole thing, although it's very tempting. I'm going to show you how to cover the abdomen with more details, and then I'm gonna leave you there. So I'm going to add some of those circles, ovals, a pattern onto the body. Um, Again, focus on leaving some of the highlights. The main color of the abdomen is gray, so I'm going to use a light gray and outline the abdomen, and then I'm going to go over almost everything else except those little circles which we drew first. So I'm not paying a lot of attention, mainly because I am running out of time, and also because I like to give you as much information in the shortest time available. So leaving some of the blues with watercolor, you can start with that. You can do the lightest color and then cover or do glazes of another color. Okay, you can still see the wing nicely. And you could still see those blue highlight. They are not as bright as they could be. That's why I add white with them. And now last bit, which I'm going to do, is show you how to paint this pattern around the abdomen. So leaving some of the areas with the blue, and then remember a little guy here, little character which has got the round head. I like to associate my shapes with something I'm familiar with, especially when I'm drawing things that I have no clue what they are. That's a peanut shape, that's a little smiley face, that's a little stick man, and so on. I also like to know the names of them, but sometimes it's kind of overwhelming, so I kind of go, this is the abdomen's sections, because I'm not specialized in biology and I probably won't remember all the names. However, if you write them down, you've got a much better chance of remembering. I'm also outlining the abdomen shape with my darkish color, and then quickly going through all those sections, adding or leaving a little bit of blue showing behind, showing through, leaving those circles and oval, this pattern that we have created. So I'm going to show you that next. And yeah, and you can see the more layers we add, the nicer it becomes, the more three-dimensional. And you could see in real life, yeah, the dragonflies have got lots and lots and lots of details. That's my paintbrush there. So lots of details, and you could see the sheen. The reason they printed this onto grey paper is so that you can all see the sheen of the wings, and that is that stage where if we reach that point where we've painted all the wings, just to give it a sheen, we can add later on a little bit of glue once the paint has dried. Okay, I'm only going to do it here because I want to go back and paint the rest of the veins on the wings later on. And ta-da! Look at that beauty. Look at that beauty. So really shiny, really bright, really delicate as well. So in a way, the bigger the drawing, the easier the details. However, you have got to spend a long time. So this is what I managed to produce in like half an hour. I'm sure you can do better than me. And it has been a pleasure to be your teacher. And it has been a pleasure to get to know more of you. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure you finish your intake book. I have got all my friends here, so they're going to say a final bye-bye before I'm going to leave you. So pay attention to everything happening around you. Do not ignore nature, especially now when we've got a lot of time available. make sure you spend it wisely, make sure you learn, you paint, you stay creative, you stay positive, you stay happy, and enjoy spring, and enjoy as much as we can. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay sane, and stay creative, and so on. And it's been a pleasure to teach you all. I hope you found those videos useful, and looking forward to hearing from you. Have a good day. Enjoy the rest of the day. Bye.